Hi everyone, my name is Bella, and today I'm going to be telling you about my favorite book series, the Vitale Brothers series. This is my favorite book series. First of all, it is a series of currently 5 books. The 6th book comes out literally tonight. That's why I'm doing this now, so I can read it right after I finish this. So it hasn't come out yet, but it is coming out, or tomorrow, but like tonight. And I'm going to read it once it comes out. This series is composed of 5 books. Take Me Apart, Paid in Full, Say I Do, Never Say Never, and End It All. Okay? And the main characters of all of these books are brothers, hence the Vitale Brothers series. All of these brothers, except for 2 of them, they all have the same dad, but not the same mom. The 6th book in the series is actually about the dad, not one of the brothers, which is, wild because the Vitale Brothers series, but whatever. And they are all romances, which is why I read them, and they are all extremely smutty, which is also why I love them. They're incredibly graphic, not just sex-wise. They're also graphic violence-wise. There's a lot of gouging of eyes and stabbing of people and killing of humans and a lot of other things. And they discuss a lot of dark topics. Each character has been through trauma. Every single character has some sort of trauma. But yeah, so there's 5 brothers. The first book consists of Enzo, which is the second youngest brother. If you don't want spoilers for the books, don't listen to the rest of this, and just go read the series. But if you want spoilers, or these are light spoilers, I won't go into the plots of the books, but these are light spoilers. The first book consists of Tex and Enzo. Enzo is the second youngest brother, and Tex is a cop, and they fall in love. Yeah. And the second book is Paid in Full, which is actually my favorite book in the series. I actually own the physical copy. All the rest of these I own in Kindle, but I loved this one so much that I needed the actual physical copy to have it. Because all the characters are in the mafia, they all also have like a weapon. So Enzo's weapon is knives. He's really good with knives. And this is about Jin, or Giancarlo, but everyone calls him Jin, and Ash. And Ash was sold at an auction to pay off his dad's debt. And Jin is, there's actually a set of twins. That's where 2 of them have the same parent. And Jin is one of the twins. And so Jin's weapon is his fists. He also has a hammer, but mostly his fists. That's why he has gloves. So this one is about Jin and Ash, or Giancarlo and Ash. And that's their whole romance. This one is my favorite of all of them. There's a lot of people being like, oh, Jin is childish, and he is childish, but I love him. This one also has like an age gap because Ash is 22 and Jin is 35. Yeah. So it's quite a big age gap, but it's really cute and I really like it. The third book is Say I Do, which is definitely the most sexually graphic and I don't know about the most violence graphic, but it is the most sexually graphic of all of them. So if you're not into smut, don't read this series at all. You won't be able to get through it. But I love it. So yeah, the third book is the most sexually graphic, and it's about Benito. He's the Jin is one of the twins. He's the older twin. He's the second oldest brother. Even though he is a twin, he is the older of the twin. And so Benito, he's the oldest. He's almost 40 years old. He's 38, I think, but he's constantly like, I'm almost 40. But yeah. And his weapon of choice is his fists. No, not his fist, his gun. He uses fists sometimes. It's his gun. And then Harlow is from a different crime family. He's from the Yakuza, and his dad sold him off. but not in the same way that Ash was sold off. He sold him off to get married to Benito, to make their families unite. So they're actually married at the beginning of the book. So they get married in that one, and so it's Harlow and Benito, and I love them. I adore them. They are my second favorite couple in the series. They're so cute. They are incredibly violent though, sexually and physically. They're extremely violent. If you don't like dark romance, skip. But also book 1 and this one is book 3, they connect sort of. All of them are interconnected standalones, so yes, in fact you can read them all separately, but you shouldn't. Book 4 is Never Say Never, and that one is Gianpaolo, or Paulo, also Paul. He has 3 names because he's actually, his entire family thinks he's dead. Okay, Paulo's entire family thinks he's dead, and the reason they think he's dead is because when he was like, had to have been in like his early 20s, late teens, he got into a car crash. So his family was like, hey, we should just tell everyone you're dead, and then we can put you into the FBI. So he ends up getting into the FBI, and they do a background, so like they change his everything, and they do a background check on him, and he clears, and so he can't see his family anymore because he's in the FBI, because he's helping the FBI steer away from his family, so his family doesn't get caught with stuff. And his partner is York, who's actually 12 years older than him. So Jin is in a relationship, the one twin is in a relationship with someone who's 12 years younger than him. Gianpaolo is in a relationship with someone who's 12 years older than him. And so that's York. And York is actually his boss, but not for long, because he ends up having to quit because he gets found out. But yeah, so that's their relationship. It's a boss mafia member relationship. So his disguise, or his name, is actually Paul, which I think is dumb to go from the name Gianpaolo to Paulo to Paul, and Paul being the code name, because I feel like that's really obvious, but maybe that's just me. But anyway, so he goes by Paul for like half the book, and then once he gets discovered, he starts going by Paulo, but his full name is Gianpaolo, just like how Giancarlo's name gets shortened to Jin, Gianpaolo's name gets shortened to Paulo. That's the 4th book. I also find the book the most boring. I just don't care, because I have never met, you don't meet Gianpaolo until that book, or you meet him a little bit in Say I Do, the 3rd book, but you don't really, you get one scene with him, and then, or you get 2 scenes with him, and that's it. But so you don't really know who he is. But in all of the other books, you learn who these characters are. But in this book, you don't learn about Gianpaolo until his book. Okay, so then the 5th book is one of my favorites. Obviously, it's not better than Paid in Full, but it's one of my favorites. And that's End It All. Oh, and Gianpaolo's weapon of choice is a bat. Okay, so Giancarlo has Jin has a hammer that he names, I don't remember the name, but he names the hammer. And then Giancarlo has bats. He uses bats as his weapon of choice, and he names every single one. He destroys it, and then he gets a new one, and he names it, and then, yeah, that's his thing. It's just the twin thing that they do. And so Gianpaolo is the 3rd youngest, or the 3rd oldest, because he's the middle child. So those are the twins. And then we have the 5th book, End It All. I really like this book. I find the ending to be anticlimactic, but the actual plot of the book is incredibly good. Besides like the last 7 chapters. So it is sad. The ending is good, and then there's a point where it should stop, and then it just keeps going, and then you're like, this could be like an epilogue. But anyways, End It All is about the long lost brother of Blake Vitale. Blake actually didn't know his brothers, and his brothers actually didn't know that he existed. Blake robbed a bank in LA. This is all taking place in New York, but Blake robbed a bank in LA, and he escaped to his apartment, and his mother said, no, I love you so much, but I don't want you getting caught and going to jail. So I'm giving you your father's address. I want you to go to New York, and I need you to go there, and your brothers and your dad will help you, okay? Will save you from the cops, okay? I need you to go over there because I need you to be safe. So he travels all the way to New York. He doesn't keep any of the money he robbed from the bank because they can trace it back to him. So he goes all the way to New York, and he finds actually Benito's apartment. And he goes to Benito's apartment, and he's like, hey, I'm your brother. And they're all like, proof? We need proof that you're our brother, because they're a mafia family, so they're not very trusting. Or they're trusting once you get to know them, but, you know. So they're like, hey, we need proof. And he's like, well, I have this lighter that has his name on it, or that has his initials on it. So they look at the lighter, and they're like, oh, yep, this belongs to our father. So that's the proof. And so that's his thing. His thing is fire, or his lighter, but fire. And so basically the entire plot of that book is, yes, the romance, but also him getting to know his brothers and getting to trust his brothers. And his relationship is with Quincy, which is actually Harlow's best friend. And actually, in the third book, Say I Do, or Harlow's book, he tries to get with Harlow, but it doesn't work, because Benito is very much in love with Harlow. So it doesn't work, and they end up getting into a fight. And then Quincy's like, okay, he's yours. I'll step back. But they're still friends. And then Blake ends up having to live with Quincy because the Vitales don't know if they can trust him, and he doesn't have anywhere to live with them because Enzo's autistic, so no one can live with him. Jin has a new baby, so he can't live with him. Benito has a baby, so he can't live with him. And Paulo has 2 kids, so they can't live with him. So he calls up his best friend and is like, hey, I wouldn't normally ask you to do this, but I need you to do this for me. I need you to watch this guy. So that he takes him back to his apartment, and he's like, I know it's not much. It's a 1-bedroom apartment. He's like, I know it's not much, but but you have to stay here with me. So he does, and he stays there with him. Yeah, and then their whole relationship is that. And Quincy is really sweet and everything. And he's also part of the Yakuza with Harlow. Okay, so this is a series of interconnected standalone books, like I said before. There are, obviously, you can read them all separately, and I actually read the third book first, then the second book, then the first book, and then the second, third, fourth, and then fifth. And then I recently reread them, and I actually read them in order, the correct order, and not third, second, first, second, third, fourth, fifth. I started with the third book because I saw a quote on TikTok that was something I wanted to read, and then I read the third book, and I was like, well, this is part of a series, so I read the second book, and then I realized it would have just been a lot easier if I started with the first book, because there is a storyline in the third book that is also kind of part of the first book, so it makes a lot more sense if you read the first book and then go throughout the series. So there's a storyline that involves Enzo and Benito. So that storyline is in both of those books, but the books are in like timeline order. So the first book and the third book, they have the same storyline. So Benito and Enzo, this is a spoiler. Benito and Enzo end up dating the same guy for a little bit. Not in those books, but like in the past. They ended up dating the same guy, and it really affected them both. And Enzo deals with it in his book, and then the second book happens, and then Benito deals with it in his book. So it takes a long time for them both to deal with it, but they both do deal with it. It just takes a lot of time, and that's why you should read them in order. And then also, you can't really read the fourth book without reading the third book, because a character dies in the third book. And that affects what happens in the fourth book, because there's one person who is really mean is the nicest way I can put it. He is not a good guy. And the only reason he's doing anything of what he's doing is because of who died in the third book. Yeah, the second book is perfectly fine to read on its own. It is a great book. There's not really any plot lines that, like, go with that one. The only thing you might have an issue with is you're like, why are Enzo and Tex together? That is the only thing that you'd be, like, struggling with. But other than that, it's kind of like its own standalone book. Like, besides the fact that Enzo and Tex have already been written and are in the book. But yeah. And the fifth book, you can't really read the fifth book without reading. You can read the fifth book by itself too, but all of the characters from all of the previous books, all of the brothers, all of their relationships are in that book. So it's kind of nice to be like, well, how did these people get together? And then, yeah. And there's also a sapphic relationship that follows through all the books. The sapphic relationship meets in the first book, and then they slowly get together throughout the rest of the books. And it's just kind of nice to see in the background. I wish it was a main focus, but it's not, which is fine. And it's between a doctor and someone who's good with technology, whatever you call that. And they work for the mafia. So that's really good, and I really like that. But yeah. So now the sixth book is coming out, and the sixth book is the father. And the good thing that I read the fifth book, because the fifth book has the most about the father. The third book kind of has him in it. The fourth book, not really. The first and second book, not really. But the fifth book, he's like a main character because the only reason that Blake came to New York was to find his father so that he could, like, help him stop running from the cops. So once he does eventually find his father is like, hey, you're my, like, favorite son now, and everything like that. And his father is a horrible person, actually. All of the brothers hate him because he's done horrible things. But yeah. So the father's horrible, but you're kind of like, why do the brothers think you're horrible? But it's just because they've known him for so long. But yeah, all of these characters have so much trauma, and it's so incredibly sad. I think only 2 of them have living mothers. No, 3. 3 of them have living mothers. All the rest of their mothers are dead. Okay. Enzo's mom is dead. Tex's mom is alive. Jin's mom is dead. Ash's mom is missing. Harlow's mom is missing. Benito's mom is alive. Paulo's mom, dead. York's mom, probably dead. She's never really mentioned. Quincy's mom is alive. No, yes, she's alive. And Blake's mom is alive. She's actually the only nice mother. No. Tex's mom is kind of nice, but I much prefer Blake's mom over Tex's mom. Yeah, so I'm super excited for the last book to come out. It's going to be great. And eventually you will get my reaction to the book. If I can stand to give a reaction, because it is so good and I'm so nervous, but it's gonna be great.